Hello there, performing artists, conscious creatives. I'm Marissa Moses. This is going to be a daily embodiment practice that I am going to be recording and posting from now until January 1st. This is a little end of year challenge for myself. I have been in my journal a lot lately. On my other project, Pages in Process, which I started because I was having a lot of inner conflict and internal challenges showing up to this project, Self-Care for Performers, which I have a lot of visions, spiritual visions that have been playing out about how my struggles would be going with this experience of mine, with this project, among other things in my life and the world's experience. So there's a degree of channeling, of spirituality, of intuition, of, if you want to call it psychic stuff, it's there. But it's been challenging for me to speak about that publicly, openly, without feeling terrified. And in the process and practice of doing this, I've also had to do a lot of my own shadow work, integrating sort of the collective conscious awareness of how different kinds of powers have moved throughout the world, and recognizing that ultimately I am identifying right now for myself. I'm using the qualifier of religious trauma, that there is a collective religious trauma that I am afraid of. And anytime a person steps into a more spiritual, intuitive kind of practice in a public setting or forum, there are a lot of potentially preconceived judgments or this, that, and the other that may or may not come along with that. I grew up in a very diverse, spiritually diverse communities. And so I've seen a lot of different ways in which people do accept totally, or are very afraid of, or even specifically targeting as something to stay away from. And I've also done a lot of my own internal reconciliation and integration of parts of myself or parts of my practices that I was afraid of, and how to come into terms with what all of that means. I'm still coming to terms with what all of that means, which is in part why I'm here today, to figure out what on earth this project that I'm being asked by the ethers in the universe to step into and embrace fully and show up with and find a seamless interconnection with community for, yet is just bringing up all of this anxiety for myself. And fear of sharing. When I collect testimonials, I'm afraid to share them. I have bits here and there. When people have been gracious enough to come on my podcast, I have an awareness that I am afraid to finish the editing process. I have like 3 videos that are live, I think right now, or podcast episodes that are live, and I haven't been able to get myself to edit the rest. I have like another 10, 12 they've been waiting, and some of them have been recorded for 2 years. But a lot of them are about denser sociopolitical conversations, spiritual alignments, and what they do or don't mean for socio-political implications, and the gravity and impact of the way we practice as performing artists, creative collaborators, what that has on the individual psyche, but also like the collective world patterns and dynamics. So it's just really loaded. It's like this gigantic big thing. And I keep wanting to compartmentalize it and make it like simpler or not so complex or not mean quite so much. And I've touched into spaces where different leaders or guides are able to tap into something similar to what I do, this sort of like energetic field, and generate information and sort of like a creative channeling experience, embodied creative channeling from there. Yet, there's a degree of like grief and rage and processing and integration of a lot of the sort of like personality challenges, I think, that we find in our own lives, in our interpersonal relationships, and also on a world global stage, that really want to be in the work that I'm doing. Like it not only really wants to be there, it's like the core of it, which is terrifying because that's a lot. So we'll see how this goes. I'm just gonna go and see what happens. Today, I feel safer when working with some form of structure. I'm finding even as I delve into space that then becomes a little bit more amorphous and invites the unknown into conscious relationship. So today I'm going to start with this lovely book. There's this beautiful arts therapist and artist, Leah Guzman, ATR-BC. I'm not quite sure what that stands for technically, but she has this book called Essential Art Therapy Exercises, Effective Techniques to Manage Anxiety, Depression, and PTSD, all of which I have a lot of going on in my psyche. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm just going to do one of these practices and modify them to be for embodiment practice. So, Leah, wherever you are out there, I doubt you'll watch this, but I just want to like take a minute and just thank you for your work in my heart, in the field, and just sort of pull the awareness that that myself and anyone else who's watching this that feels aligned, that we're not alone, and that we have people who are alive and people who have are our ancestors that have been doing this kind of work in the name of healing just for thousands of years. And there are modern ways in which psychology and neuroscience and art and therapy are integrating and integrated into different people's practices, and how beautiful to feel held by that. And I just want to feel a little bit held, I guess, by that energy as I step into this embodiment. Okay, so I'm going to read to you all the practice. So this is in the section for writing, and it's on page 105. In case you're interested in getting the book, I'm going to leave a link down in the thing to let you to just a link to the book. So if you're interested, that you can find her and her website and all of that stuff. Here is the practice. It is called Overcoming Fear. And the benefit is that it increases coping skills, which I need. And maybe you need to. Hang on a second. My nose is running. Anyway, I need to go. I'm anxious. I'm going to go get something to help with that, and then maybe get like a warm cup of tea to help regulate my nervous system. And then I'll be back to do the rest of this. Okay. Okay. I'm back. I have my box of Kleenex and I have my Grow with the Flow cup mug peppermint tea. And that's what I'm going to try to do. I'm going to try to step into creative flow and grow with the flow, seeing if I can find access to some sort of channel that will help me let it not be so hard, help allow there to be a space of being seen vulnerably with whatever wants to come through, whether it's mine or yours or collectives or ancestral or societal, whatever that is. Opening to channel, seeing what comes through. This might be very personal. It also might not be. So here's what I was reading. This is from page 105, and the section, the practice is called Overcoming Fear. The benefit is that it increases coping skills. The exercise should take about 30 minutes, and the materials, if you want to do this in the way it's written, are a journal and pen. Again, I'm modifying it for embodiment practices, and we'll see if it takes a full 30 minutes or not. Here's a little intro. Fear serves a purpose that can be necessary for survival. Fear is a natural response for protection. However, when fear and anxiety start to negatively impact our lives, we can become stuck. And I've been stuck for a long time. Fear can stop you from living your best life. This exercise will help you understand how fear is playing a role in your life using your non-dominant hand. So if you do this at home, using your non-dominant hand, So the hand you do not usually write with. For this writing exercise, we'll tap you into your unconscious mind. I have a practice of, as I work with embodiment, the way I work with embodiment, it also connects one to their unconscious mind. So this is something I lead and guide through, but this is also something that's just a practice that I have. So in your journal, or in our embodiment, use your non-dominant hand to make a list of 3 fears that are interfering with your life. That's number 1. So I'm going to start by just stating 3 fears. What was it? I am now going to list 3 fears that are interfering with my life. So this wants to come up. It's like a stop. It's like 2 different directions coming together at once. I feel like this 2 different directions wanting to come together, but like not working out. I feel like very specifically that to me feels like the podcast It also feels like maybe that one's the podcast. So that was list of 1. Another one's here. And I feel like my eyes are tired and I don't want to look at things. My eyes are tired. I don't want to look at things. I feel like I just kind of want to hide a little bit. And I feel like this is just marketing what I do, letting people know what I do, being honest about what I do, being able to naturally say, and I'm like just terrified. I like don't want anyone to see me. I don't want you to know what I practice, how I practice, what I do. I'm like just scared and I don't want to be seen. And that's getting in the way. So that's a fear. And then the third one I would say is I don't know. I'm like scratching my head. I don't know that this feels like a fear. Maybe it's like, I don't know, like get it off me. Like I want to get it off me. Like I don't, like there's something that I want to get off me. This feels like I don't want to be a performing artist. I don't want to be an actor. I always thought my whole life I had been working towards I wanted to perform and I've wanted to be an actor and I've wanted to specifically work in film my whole life, had visions about it, all the things, I've trained in it, blah, blah, blah. And it's something I've worked really hard to be ready to say. And it's like every time I get to a point where I'm like, I've set my life up in a way where it's like, okay, my life is stable enough. I will be able to go to auditions, this, that, and the other. And then I completely I lose my mind and I'm like, I don't want this, or I get auditions and I'm like, I can't handle this. And I drop my reps and I stop submitting and I can't, it's like, I can't engage with it. So it's like, I don't want the career I think I want. Right. So so those are my 3, those are my 3 things. So continue to use your non-dominant hand to write responses to these questions. So we're going to do this as an embodiment. I'm going to do an embodiment in response to these questions. When was the last time you experienced fear? Can I just say like right now, this is terrifying. So the last time I experienced fear is right now. And I feel like I want to warm myself up. I want to rub my arms. I want to grab my tea. I want to know that you're safe. And I don't know if you're safe. And I don't know who's going to see this. And that's scary. And I think that feels like a metaphor for the fear of like putting yourself out there as a performing artist, engaging in networking or community or or auditioning or the possibility of getting jobs or there's a lot of unknowns. There's a lot of activity. There's a lot of people. I am terrified of people. I'm terrified of you. So maybe not individually if you're someone I know and I love, but like the concept of the you that might see this. Okay. And then if fear was not present, what life experiences would you be able to have? I just went like inward, like down into my heart, which is surprising because it's like, why would that be the one I want? Wouldn't this be the fear? But it's almost like I just want to like just look down into my heart and just like only look there. If I didn't have fear, this is what I would do, which doesn't make sense because this looks like a fear stance, right? Like this looks like something that someone afraid would do, but I don't feel fear in my body. I just feel like cocoon. I feel like a cocoon, which is natural and organic and evolutionary and a little chrysalis moment. And like the okayness of it feels important. Like, let me hide. There's nothing wrong with hiding. It's totally okay to be hidden and to hide. That feels nice. How is the fear serving you? Is it helping in any way? How is the fear serving me? Is it helping me in any way? Yeah, I feel like it's helping me let me do the thing I want to do if I didn't have the fear, which was to hide. Like, I want to hide. I want to crawl in on myself. I want to be invisible. I want to like just not be seen. I want like everything to go away. I want everything to go away. And I just want to recover. Like, I feel like there's a lot of recovery that I have to do, that I want to do, that I need to do. And I just really would feel nourished by the experience of safe, consistent, held space to do exactly that. So the fear helps me sustain, in part of that, because I think that I have this idea that I'm supposed to not behave that way. I'm supposed to, you know, go out and be more social and feel more excited to connect with others. And yeah. Okay. No, I want to stay in this one for some reason. Is it helping in any way? It's like I want to feel the help of it. I want to feel like how that really is serving me. The fear is allowing me to feel held. The fear is allowing me to take on the posture I want to take on if there is no fear, which is sort of like cocooning myself up. So I just want to put my hands over my eyes and just be like, hey, it's okay. Like, whether you're doing this through fear or you're doing this without fear, like, this is an okay shape to take. And I can feel the chair there. So I'm going to sit down. And I just want to put my feet on the floor and just be like, this is normal. There's nothing wrong with darkness. There's nothing wrong with taking time away. There's nothing wrong, and actually something very beautiful and necessary about recovery periods and the need to go into the dark, which, you know, people will sometimes judge you for or not understand or be afraid that you're going to fall into something you can never come back out of. But I think, you know, that dark night of the soul sort of spiritual experience is like you have to go through the dark in order to get to the other side. And like the ego has to die in certain ways. And the ego being like the identity and the way we meet the world and our understanding of ourselves and the connection points we make. And that feels really important to me, that that needs to happen right here and right now in my life. Like, I really need to change the way I think I'm supposed to make connections. I really don't want to do it in the way I feel like I should or I'm supposed to, which is funny because I teach people how to not do it those ways so much and to find different ways. But there's still this like, and by that I mean like, you know, like performing artists were sold like going to networking events and showing up in this way and making sure you know, there's just a lot of activity, like social activity. And I'm like, I don't want quite so much, or at least not in the same way. I really like to feel hidden. I really like to feel held. I don't really want to live on top of a mountain. I want to live in a valley. Like, I just want to feel like, like I'm like in a basin of sorts, like that, because there's like a surrendering to grief and like safety that I feel like I'm able to tune into and access from there. I mean, I spent a lot of time under my blankets on my couch. You can see they're still there. And I just sort of like get cozy. And that's something I've wanted to not need to do so much. And it's also something I know that helps me when I'm having a hard time. So, okay. Where is the fear coming from? And when that happened, when I said that, part of me went, well, we've already kind of talked about that. And then part of me went frozen, like shut down, frozen. It's like the part of me that feels like it's supposed to interact with others, that part feels like it's frozen or dead or playing dead, or like that sort of nervous system reaction to fear of threat. It's like below freeze and it's into shutdown. It's just done. And there's a degree of like not even being able to like access something there. It's like the mind there has gone into like a catatonic state. That feels like where the fear is coming from. The fear is coming from the aspect or aspects of me or the collective experience that holds this kind of fear from like a complete deadened experience. What lesson does your fear need to teach you? As I sort of hold this spot, I'm like just holding, like just hold, hold for sound. Like sometimes you just gotta wait. Sometimes you just gotta wait and work out the kinks and like let that be okay. And let that be okay. So I'm just gonna hold here. Not feel like I need to convey to you the changes or the differences, and just sort of be in them. You feel here, it's like I'm protecting myself from like an explosion that's it's like I know it's gonna come at me. And I'm just terrified of it, and I don't know how to protect myself from it. Or it's like I don't have the infrastructure to protect myself from it yet. And I know I need to or want to cultivate that, build that, create that. And my heart feels frozen right now. So I'm just going to stand. This feels important. So you can kind of see it's like what I'm doing is like, it's almost like an interpretive dance, but it's also like emotional. Um, and I'm not really trying to get it to do anything. I'm just sort of like letting my body do its thing. So I was swaying back and forth, and now in like little circles. I was aware for a moment my lower back hurt. And so I shifted the weight onto my left leg and curved my back just a little bit, and that eased up the pressure. Now I can drop that left arm. Feels like there's less protection needed from whatever it was that was over there. I've like turned my back on it, and my heart, I'm holding my heart. And it's like now there's something I can receive. It's almost like in my mind's eye, it's like the industry is over there. Like the performing arts industry is over there. And I can't, it's like too much. and I had to protect myself from it. So it's like, I want to go this way. What is this way? And it just feels good. Maybe this is what we're doing right here, right now. You and I and the us that are relating to this video, this experience, this whatever, this happening. And it's like, I want to, as I was talking about the potentiality of sharing, it's like, I just started sharing it. And it's almost like, I feel like I'm carrying a plate of hors d'oeuvres or something. I used to, as a little kid, my dad was working on a TV show and I would help out in craft service. And then also my grandma, she loved to throw parties and I would love passing out hors d'oeuvres. And so this feels like a, here you go, here you go, here you go, here you go. Just like, here you go. And that comes up a lot, I've noticed inside of my walks or my embodiment practices, that there's that when I feel like I'm in a good place, what I'm doing is like I'm creating baked goods, or I have something that's like to eat, to like give away or sell or offer or exchange. But there's this like, it's not me, it's not part of me, but I am involved in the like loving relationship with the exchange or the sharing of it. I guess that's what my fear needs to teach me. Questions for discussion. When fear shows up, ask yourself, is this real or imagined? So I don't know what's going on now. It feels sort of like because it was still feeling really like connected to me, like fear driven, like compacted and like structured there. It's sort of like loosening that up, like letting that shake out. So when fear shows up, ask yourself, is this real or imagined? I think some of what I'm experiencing is real, and some of what I'm experiencing is like imagined, I don't know, like what ifs, right? That magical what if you can work with in order to help your character get to a place. I am also doing that. And I think we do this in general. A lot of like just humans do. I think it's really human to our what ifs. Like they can be positive, they can be negative, they could be somewhere in between, but like, which one are you going to choose? Is it real? Is it imagined? And I think that there's differentiating, well, doing a little bit of like skill sharing between how we step into character or role versus how we step into the character of our lives and the role that we choose to play as we embody our identity out there in the world, that we have more agency over that than oftentimes we feel like we do. Yeah. And now I'm just like, I just want to like send whatever is on my heart out. So last question for discussion. If the fear is real and you are in danger, immediately seek help. If it is not real, then create an affirmation statement that supports your dreams. A simple statement such as, I choose love instead of fear. You want to say that with me? I choose love instead of fear. Say that 3 times. I choose love instead of fear. Again, I choose love instead of fear. Last time. I choose love instead of fear. And then just breathe the space between those two things, the love and the fear. Not closing the door on fear, or at least this is what I need. You might have a different embodied experience. What I need is to not shut the door on fear or turn my back on it, because I think the fear comes from a really vulnerable, necessary space, but to bridge space into the love where the fear and the love can coexist. And they don't have to be separate, and they can be part of the wholeness of my experience. And even as the fear is welcome, I'm still going to choose to hold the love, and I'm still going to choose to orient towards the love and allow the fear to feel the benefit of that as well. So simple statements like that, which was, I choose love instead of fear, can help you move forward and become unstuck. And then here's a lovely question. Actually, first, I want to embody that, which was, choosing statements such as, I choose love instead of fear can help you move forward and become unstuck. So let's embody that. I choose love instead of fear. So there was the holding of that. I kind of talked it through, but I'm going to just like walk around the room and have like an embodied experiential state of being that feels like, what would it be like to choose love as the focus over fear? And that feels important to me. Like, it's the focus over fear. The fear doesn't go away. And I choose the love and I invite the love and I hold the love and I allow the fear to be here. And I also allow the love to kind of dilute the fear a little bit, to ease the pain, the angst, the anguish of the fear, and to create space. So I'm just going to hold that. I feel inclined to just be quiet for a bit and take some breaths, palms up. If you want to do the same, you're welcome. I can feel the heaviness of my feet in the earth and felt aligned to soften my knees a little bit, drop the weight into my hips, widen through the heart. And it's like the whole experience of my facial bones. Like it feels like my facial bones are just like widening, softening, widening, softening. Just sort of like the face represents how we present ourselves to the world. And I struggle with that. I know. I really desire to hide within design. I've redesigned the self-care for performers logos and things and like branding so many times to feel like if I just find the right camouflage, I'll be okay. But we're just going to soften, widen. What if I didn't need so much camouflage and I felt the right side of my jaw tighten up there and like a little voice that was like, you do need the friggin' camouflage, but also how much of that is from just my own sense of safety versus the collecting or connecting with the kinds of folks out there who are a resonant match and are safe enough for us to learn relational skill building with one another as we take conscious consideration and care for our own selves within a self-care practice, which for me is embodiment. It's learning how to be in this space of the seen and unseen to bridge the gap between the creative channel and the choice to step into an essence, which is when we then go on stage and we bring ourselves into a role that there is a willingness to show up fully as ourselves in whatever character we are also inhabiting or we're sharing space with inside of our vessel. That there is this sort of like intentional contained and in a way hopefully that's safe enough, utilizing whatever practices you need to help keep you safe psychologically while entering those spaces. And there are a lot of different practices and methods that an artist can use that are out there. There's also the help of therapy that can help ground a person in and out. And I'm really clear that like the space between those things, I'm not a therapist, I want to say that, but the space between those things where this is your craft as a performing artist, this is your business, your brand as the what you're selling, and then but this is the all of me that's coming into place, and there's an integration process and practice that's important to be a part of the experience, like that mixing of a soup, like stirring a bowl of like mixing all the ingredients together and getting it really just all integrated, like an integrated self, an integrated artist. I am now the integrated artist. Like I am now, through my embodiment, the integrated artist. And what if that's all this is about. What if that's all this is about? Okay, last one, I think. What are some affirmations you can think of to help you battle your fear? I am now the integrated artist. Write that down. I am now the integrated artist. And I love that, like, it's the integrated artist, not an integrated artist or my integrated artist. There's something that feels important to me about that. It becomes like archetypal. I'm now the integrated artist, like the artist that needs to be here now, embodied to meet whatever's present. And that may or may not totally align with like who I always am in my private life, right? Or my personal life. It may not. Hopefully it's aligned to core values, right? But the role, like each role we step into, whether it's for a creative job or a performance like character, or even like a personal relationship role that we step into, there are certain sort of agreements and contracts and expectations and ways in which we can communicate with who we're in relationship with about goals and alignment and why we're there to begin with and what we want to get out of the experience. And so I am now the integrated artist feels like I am now the integrated artist to match and meet this particular exchange, whatever that happens to be, and letting the exchange be something that it's okay if it's changeable. It's okay if that's fluid. And maybe that's a way in which one, myself or the many ones can like be in a kind of dating relationship with life, in that I'm going to go and test the waters. I'm going to go and have a 15-minute coffee chat here and see if this person's a connection to grow deeper in intimacy there, to see if there's a project for alignment or goal setting over here. You know, because when we audition or network, it's a constant state of meeting new moments, new people, new practices, new ways of showing up in connection to ourselves and connection to environment and connection to each other. And I think that that statement, I am now the integrated artist, and the other one given to us, I choose love instead of fear, those two affirmations or mantras, or however you want to think about it, they can help that process of softening, opening, allowing the possibility that we can meet ourselves and one another in a more clear and cogent space, a place that can really live into that creative flow, that place of aligned curiosity, that enough safety is present so there can be playfulness. And you know, grief and grief recovery and rage and all of that is so present in so much of my work and along the ways of coming through into recovery. And also once we have a basin of recovery and safety, then there's the hope that I have that increasingly I will feel more and more access to joy and resiliency and hope and a kind of faith in life working out in ways that past cycles have, that I've run into walls with a lot. And so I'm hoping that these practices will serve my community, serve you, loud car, serve the loud cars on the streets in the middle of Los Angeles, to learn to trust the unseen, to learn to trust the process, to learn to trust the body, to integrate the needs and the natural undercurrents of what's already present, and find ways to not compartmentalize or like suppress parts of ourselves in order to show up to the work, but to really allow there to be a flowering and an organic integration and a willingness to be with all of the parts so that we can make meaningful and lasting change from like a rooted, grounded, oriented, healing way. And then from there, find the play, which becomes really exciting and less terrifying. So, all right. I love you all. I'm going to do this again tomorrow. I don't know when I'll be posting this. I have to run off to errands and things. but I'm going to be recording this every day at 9 a.m. So if you're interested in connecting for any consultations, I do have a mentorship program where we can get together and we can do these practices and source through whatever it is you need to source through and have space held for you. It's a very private experience as long as you want it to be. And because it's a very vulnerable experience. So, and maybe along the ways as I get more comfortable sharing in this way and feel more secure in not receiving backlash that I'm afraid of receiving, perhaps I'll invite some of you or more of you into connection for recording and sharing some of these kinds of practices as well more publicly, just to get the awareness of this kind of work being accessible. And that feels really scary to me. So there's still fear there, but I'm going to choose love instead of fear and open to that space and know that that's a space I really feel good about continuing to open from a place of love forward into. And then just trust the timing and alignment and know that part of my experience and need for fear is to be a little bit more insular and to feel that way. So along the way, I'll keep processing through that and seeing what that means. And I'll see you next time. And I'm going to do another practice from either this book or another book and integrate it into embodiment, just so I feel a little held and supported. Okay, take care. Bye-bye.